This is HBR News number... What is this number, anyway? 468. Misogyny is now terrorism. Sex robots can now say no if they aren't in the mood, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian Martinez, and I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts, Dr. Rana McCam and Hannah Wallen. On today's HBR News shows, we have more insanity of the week. This week, we're going to be talking about, well, it's actually kind of a slower week. There's a lot of insanity, but it's concentrated in specific places. So we're going to be talking about news that Tulsi Gabbard is planning to sue the Biden DOJ. Misogyny is now going to be treated as terrorism. Sex robots can have headaches and decide they're not in the mood anymore, and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time. Sorry, sex robot bros. Yeah, sorry. So for the patron show, we try to keep the patron shows lighter these days. So I have this post on Twitter. This could turn into a much bigger conversation anyway. But there's this person on Twitter named Allie who is trying to essentially inform men that women do not find men with hobbies attractive. Now, she targets video games, but there is a chart that she puts up where she goes into all manner of hobbies. So essentially what I think she's getting at is guys, fellas, if you're not doing stuff for women and to make women's lives better and more comfortable, then you're useless and you shouldn't be allowed to, I guess, have any of the things that might give you a little bit of a sense of relaxation or zen or whatever. You can't have it. So this is the thing. She's basically telling us that women hate video games and they hate men who play video games. So I don't know. We're going to get into that.
She's telling us women hate men. She's telling us women don't think men are human and men don't need an outlet for the stress they build up in their daily lives or the creativity that doesn't get used for their jobs or any kind of stress release or any kind of me time. And I'll bet she spends hours, not minutes, but hours a week on her beauty routine.
Or watching reality TV or something.
Even just TV is something that you can share with another person, but doing your nails and getting your hair done and all of the different things that I'm allergic to that I don't do because I'm allergic to them, and that women waste time on with regard to their beauty routine. The same women who are doing all of that shit, who are taking up the bathroom for half the day, who are dedicating a buttload of time to their me time, their stress release, their self-satisfaction, get mad that guys spend some time doing mental exercises that use gameplay as their format.
Yeah.
This is going to be an after show that you'll see me participating in quite a bit.
Yeah, Hannah's got a lot to say about that.
I'm going to go off.
I was going to say I was surprised that taxidermy is so low on the list, because taxidermy is a pretty fucking creepy thing to do as a hobby. But
I think it's kind of high on the list, considering. I mean,
what counts as a hobby? Because there are some men who like murdering children and collecting their skulls in necklaces and shit. Oh wait, women love that, don't they? Yes, women love serial killers.
Yes, they do. They do. It's funny that taxidermy ranked higher than comic book collecting. I guess that's how bad the comic book industry is, and bird watching. But anyway, we'll get into that in the patron show. If you want to join us in the patron show, you have to become a badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe. $5 a month will get you into our Discord, where you'll be able to watch all of the additional content. And if you give it higher levels, you can even be a part of the conversation and join us in the chat on Discord. And if you don't want to wake up one morning and find that we've been yeeted from the internet, please go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. So she's got her fingers in many pots, and she likes to remain hard to pin down because we are obviously on a list and there are people watching. Hello, feds. So keep them guessing, right?
We are on more than one list.
No, I said multiple lists. Yeah,
we are listed.
Yeah.
We're on lists of lists.
we're on lists of lists. That's correct.
We're
lists
more
than a
listed
BuzzFeed
than you
article.
are.
So anyway, yeah. So with all that said, let us get into today's story. So we're gonna, like I said, it's kind of light, but I thought there was one thing that came across my desk this morning that I thought I would share with you guys. So Phil Donahue, the legendary TV journalist and host of his show, Phil Donahue Show, passed away at the age of 88. His groundbreaking talk show, which aired from 1967 to 1996, was known for tackling lots of different controversial issues. He even had Warren Farrell on as a guest, at least once. Donahue's show was also the first to incorporate audience participation, a format that became a staple in modern talk shows and influenced future hosts like Oprah Winfrey. He is survived by his wife, Marlo Thomas, along with his children, grandchildren, and his golden retriever, Charlie. So I don't know, like, I mean, I didn't watch a lot of it, but Phil Donahue was kind of a big deal as far as talk TV, and I thought I would make a mention that he is no longer with us. So, and well, I don't know if you guys want to say anything.
Most of his viewers were probably women. I mean, for the fact that his show was on during the daytime, like the only time I ever would run across it flipping through channels was when I was home from school, sick, and that's the only time I was home from school when I wasn't outside. So yeah, he probably had a lot of women.
Oh, for sure.
Watching his show.
And he used to have on like
paying
the
attention
Klan
to his work.
and
Yeah, he had a lot of controversial guests on.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that he had Warren Farrell on a show that is probably mostly watched by women was a really good thing. Yeah. And that's a really good thing in that it gets the issue across from somebody who, like, nobody in their right mind could look at Warren Farrell and think, scary bad man. Like, he is very, very professional, very mild-mannered. He's absolutely nothing like me, right? I'm an asshole. I'm scary. I've been told that enough times that fine, I'm gonna embrace scary, right? But
yeah.
This guy is like having your dad or your older brother explain it to you in the gentlest terms possible. So if women can't accept the message that men are human from him on a format that is made for them to consume, like, there's no hope.
Yep.
And so that basically was one of the best things that Mr. Donahue could have done, was to bring Warren Farrell on his show in the daytime when women would be watching, and give him the opportunity to be that gentle explainer.
And I will say that, like, one thing that I thought was interesting about this is that Phil Donahue started the whole thing about the talk show where you bring on controversial guests and you get audience participation. But I think a lot of people take for granted that he started it and they credit Oprah with it, and Oprah came after. So I think that is also worth pointing out that, Phil Donahue was doing it first. Sorry, ladies. And on top of that, the other thing about Warren Farrell I wanted to mention is that, unfortunately, and I appreciate Warren Farrell's approach, because I think it does have a place in this conversation, but the people who oppose him, which are the same people who oppose us, and people like Erin Pitsey, who is just like a gentle old lady, they do not care how gentle you are. They will claim that the way that you deliver your message matters, but they really don't care. Like, they treat Warren Farrell terribly in the media and when they protest him and stuff, and it still goes on. I mean, he gets to make appearances on, Larry Elder and stuff like that, and that's great, but yeah, I mean, like, when he gets attacked, it's with the same kind of vitriol that anybody else does. It's just like, you need Warren Farrell's and you need Paul Elam's. You just need both. So
Warren Farrell, one of the things that he does, and he may not even be trying to do it, it just may be a side effect, but he exposes exactly how bitchy and mean and aggressive those women are.
Yep. But anyway, I don't know if this is just a little story. I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything, but just like, rest in peace, Phil Donahue. Really appreciate that you were at least interested in bringing Warren Farrell on your show and like entertaining these ideas about men's issues and, everything else you did. I mean, like he gave the Klan a platform. Why not? Let's hear them out, So,
yep.
Anyway, anybody else got anything to say? All right, so I'm going to move on to the next story. Meredith G gave us $5 super chow. Thank you, Meredith. And I got it working on the on OBS now. And she says, HBR News 468, honey for the Badgers. No additional comment. Thank you. If you guys want to send a super chow at any point during the stream, it'll basically be like less censored than like super chats. And we will get more of the money because Google takes a big chunk of the super chat. You can go to feedthebadger.com/just the tip and give a little super chow to Badger Chan. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. So next we got Tulsi Gabbard is in the news. Years after her ousting from the Democrat Party, which included the likes of Hillary Clinton suggesting that she was a groomed Russian asset, Tulsi Gabbard once again finds herself being targeted by the Democratic establishment. After spending the last several years speaking out against the Biden administration, it came to her attention through federal air marshal whistleblowers that she had been placed on the Quiet Skies program, better known as one of their terror watch lists. This revelation is especially shocking as Gabbard was once a member of Congress and is also a U.S. military veteran. Gabbard plans on taking legal action against the Biden admin over this issue, stating on Twitter, quote, "My own government, my president, my commander-in-chief is targeting me as a potential domestic terrorist. The closet word that comes to mind is a complete sense of betrayal. After serving over 21 years and continuing to serve in our nation's military, my own government has labeled and is targeting me directly now as a domestic terrorist. They're using people like the air marshals as weapons and pawns to target their political opponents. Of course, there's no explanation given, which is why we are taking legal recourse. Obviously, I've been very outspoken about the dangers of the Biden-Harris administration to our democracy and to our freedom and to our national security. This is what happens as a result." End quote.
This is getting to the point where your average person should be aware. We're watching a would-be totalitarian government. A government that is full of people who feel entitled to be totalitarian, not just would like to be, but feel like it should be their right to do that. Taking action against anybody who disagrees with them, has any level of dissent, does any level of keeping watch over them to make sure that they're not doing wrong to the people, which they are. And so on. Like, we're now to the point where it's just flat out. It's just flat out a threat, and it's not about. I hate the phrase "our democracy." Right? We keep hearing about our democracy. We do not have a democracy. We don't live in a democracy. More than half the public doesn't vote at least part of the time. And almost half the public never votes. So that's not a democracy, right? And in addition, we don't directly vote for the individual for most of the time. So you really don't have. People are voting for party for the most part, and you really don't have a democracy in that instance. You have more of a situation where the news media is telling you who should be running your country, and people are just automatically giving it to them, right? But we are in a situation where our government is now attacking the people for basically expecting the thing that we keep getting told that we have, our democracy. We haven't had a democracy in a long time. I imagine that Tulsi Gabbard's not the only one that's being falsely targeted like this, right? Because this is a false allegation. She's not a terrorist. She's not going to blow things up. She's not going to commit any kind of crime against the public or against property, against any individual people, or against the government. She's probably not even making mistakes on her taxes, right? She's probably the most meticulous person about that because, and I know this about a lot of people that are in the military, she's still dedicated to the country. And she still does what she thinks is right, or she wouldn't have enlisted, right?
She's
So
definitely principled. I give her that.
Right. This is an individual who there's no hint of an excuse. There's not even remotely a like, well, they made a mistake thinking this about her because of X, Y. No, they know they are targeting a non-terrorist whose only crime is dissent. Her only crime is disagreeing with what the political party in charge, and there is a political party in charge, and there has been my entire life. Her only crime is disagreeing with what that political party has as a set of stated goals and a set of demonstrated goals. And that's, that's any of you, that's all of you. If people are looking at this going, well, she shouldn't have been speaking out against the Democrats because they're on the side of the people or whatever. If you're a Democrat and you agree with the Democrats and you think that anybody that disagrees is a terrorist, understand that this can go both ways. Understand that when the pendulum swings in the other direction, and it always eventually does, everything that you think is okay to do when your party is in political power, the next party that gets into political power is going to get the message from you that it's okay for them to do that too. I don't want Republicans doing this kind of shit, right? I don't want Democrats doing it. I don't want Republicans doing it. I don't want communists doing it. Don't want the Green Party doing it, which they're basically also communists. They don't tell anybody that. Right?
Yeah.
I would hope libertarians wouldn't do it. But I don't want any party doing this.
Right. So yeah, we have to hold them to the same standard. And
Right.
well, I think that what seems to be happening is they're tightening their grip, on anybody who is dissenting because they really want to win. And I don't know. I feel like they're really afraid. Like they're really afraid that if the orange man gets in office, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And so they're doing everything they can. They're watching anybody who disagrees with them. They have overplayed their hand. I think it started back during the coup. That was what really drove people, like they were like, what the heck's going on? That was when Tulsi started to question them. So, and what was the coup? I mean, I think it was just like, oh, we're going to take control of the economy. We're going to take control of people's businesses. We're going to lock people in their homes. We're going to separate kids from their socializing that is important socialization. And some people were like, no, that's not okay. And then Tulsi was also, I guess she had questions about the Maui fires. That was like a big thing that also, because they still haven't like given us any updates on that. And she still isn't getting it. And she was like, Hawaiian. So essentially, I think that they're afraid and they're becoming more authoritarian because of it. And I think that is what it means to say, weak men create hard times, because they're cowardly and they're trying to hold on to what they have or their power or get more power, and they're willing to do terrible things to people. I'm not saying that what's happening to Tulsi is necessarily a terrible thing, but it's a bad thing for sure. It's certainly unethical. It's, and something that she should respond to. But
this is the way the United States manifests or puts into place the credit system that China has, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to. The credit system that China has is based on it's similar to your credit score, which your credit score is a bogus thing too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
That is simply the way that financial institutions control your choices so that your spending habits and your borrowing habits can make the most money for them at your expense, obviously.
Yeah.
But your social credit score in China, that is essentially about the government controlling, it's micromanagement, right? It's about the government controlling the individual in such a way that the individual's time and energy is almost exclusively dedicated to government purposes. So working, paying taxes, maintaining order in their neighborhood, and keeping people loyal to that government. Those are going to be the types of things that they're dedicated to. Well, the US doesn't have a credit system like that, but we have this not end all be all, but sort of cover all terminology around terrorism that allows for the same thing to be done, except it's labeling people as scary and dangerous to the community by using the terminology for people who blow things up and capture people and keep them hostage and behead people that disagree with them.
Kind of like the
to
next
describe
story.
people to say things online to describe people who say things online that challenge the platform of the people in power, right? Just stating your disagreement, just having a different set of ideas about how people should be treated by the government and what's effective policy in terms of handling something like a virus or handling how kids go to school and things like that. Like that is being equated to kidnapping people and cutting their heads off.
Yeah.
That is the social credit score in the United States. Like nobody should believe that, and we all know it's bullshit, right? But they can't just enact a social credit score, right? People would object to that. So what do? Oh, well, if you disagree with us, you're a terrorist.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, look at what's happening in the UK, which we're going to get to next, in Europe, in Canada. All of it's the same kinds of actions, but they're at different stages. The US is still like not as bad as Canada or the UK is because we still have a constitution and they can't flagrantly, just like oppose it, but they're working on it. Like we're a few steps behind. So if you want to know like where the US is headed, look at Canada, look at the UK. Like they're I mean, we're going to get to the UK thing, but like they're already arresting people for, saying mean things on Facebook. They're talking about extraditing Americans who say mean things about Keir Starmer. And I don't want to like get, because we're getting to that, but like they're talking about extraditing Americans for essentially insulting the British government. If you insult Xi Jinping, remember that whole thing where if you call him Winnie the Pooh, like you can get arrested in China? It's the same thing. Like, so we're not that far off. It's like,
well,
what
if
we
you
have
call
is
Winnie the Pooh Xi Jinping?
Well, I mean, I think Disney will probably come after you.
Well, Winnie the Pooh's public domain now, I think.
Well, yeah, technically, but Disney will probably figure it out. I mean, some Disney, like, they have a clause in their like terms and conditions for Disney Plus that says like you can't sue them under like, I don't know, it's like some weird loophole. And this guy who took his wife to a like a restaurant at Disneyland, and she had a severe peanut allergy, and the chef assured them that there was not going to be a problem, and she ate food that had peanuts in it and died. And he was trying to sue Disney, and they're like, you can't sue us because of this clause. So
I think
it's crazy.
I don't think
they had one very misinformed person on their legal team who thought they could use that as some kind of excuse.
And it's not working.
And it was never viable, and now it's gone viral, and it's been an absolute disaster for Disney. And they're probably going to settle out of court for a fucking
your terms of service cannot have we can kill you, we can commit crimes against you, we can do bad things against you, we can violate your rights and so on, and there's nothing you can do about it because we have this clause. Right? That can't be part of your terms of service. It's not legally binding.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like that's a little bit of a tangent, but this is like what's happening to Tulsi. I mean, like look at the January 6th protesters. they were put into prison without a trial, and some of them in solitary confinement. Enrico Tarrio went to jail he's basically sentenced for 30 years. And like, people are acting like, well, you know, that's the way it goes. Like that, there has to be like, and this is one of the main reasons, by the way, that I support Trump going into the White House, because there are a lot of people that need to be pardoned and set free. And that's the only way it's going to happen, is if somebody like at the top basically says, look, all these people, they didn't break any laws, they should be free. And I think that that's important. And a lot of those were men, because there were a lot of men at those protests. So anyway, that's a bit of a divergence. So we're going to bring it home. And all I would say is, you know, good luck to Tulsi Gabbard. I think that we should understand that our governments, and especially the media, you don't hate them enough. You don't hate them enough. Okay, so let's get into the next one. I want to play this clip to start off because it was relevant. So this is from End Wokeness, and it shows here, he writes, holy shit, the UK is releasing 5,000 prisoners to make room for anti-immigration protesters. So they're letting violent criminals out of prison so they can make more room for like native Britons who have an issue with immigration. All right, let's play this clip.
Obviously, they're already repeating their crimes, and they're going, well, where do we put them? We just filled the prisons with British men who yelled at a police dog or some shit. Yeah. Oh, well, we're just going to have to let these murderers and rapists just wander the streets because we've got no prison space left. Oh, someone tweeted Rule Britannia. We'll have to... Okay, we'll put 2 of them in per cell. From 3 of them.
Double the space. Add a bunk bed. All right, let's play this clip.
We will guarantee a prison cell. We will make sure that those people who need to be in prison will be in prison. Not necessarily in the area where they live. They may be 200-300 miles away from home, but we will guarantee people a prison cell.
The numbers are so tight there. How can you make that guarantee?
They are tight, and that's why we've initiated Operation Early Dawn. So basically, the easiest way to describe it is 1 in, 1 out. So as people get released, we can then pick up people from police cells and take them to court, and we will triage that 3 times a day. We will guarantee a prison cell. We will.
All right, so let's get into the article, and I just want to add on that according to this like operation, they're going to be releasing people who have served 40% of their sentence. So if that would include, I guess, violent criminals. I mean, there's nothing that says it isn't. But let's get into this because this is where it really matters. So
before we get into this, though, just want to say one thing, right? If they have to take measures like that to make room, and they're anticipating having to take measures like that to make room for the number of people they're anticipating that they're going to arrest because of these laws, that's the purpose of these laws. The laws are basically to create an excuse to arrest mass quantities of people, right? Mm-hmm. There is no objection to the behaviors that they're going to be arresting people for among the people that are doing the arresting or passing the laws or anything like that, or even most of the public. They're going to be doing this specifically for the purpose of acclimating people to the idea that you can just come and get them and lock them up for something that they said. It has absolutely nothing to do with safety. It really has absolutely nothing to do with women, other than the fact that women are facilitating this, right? This is about training you to be afraid that your government is going to come and take you away and put you in a cell for talking.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the...
Just be aware of that when you listen to the story.
Yeah, so the UK government is set to treat extreme misogyny, which of course is undefinable, as a form of terrorism under new plans spearheaded by Home Secretary Yvette Cooper. The initiative will involve a review. I think, is that the same Yvette Cooper that couldn't define what a woman was? The initiative will involve a review of the counterterrorism strategy to address violence against women and girls and identify gaps in current legislation. Teachers may be legally required to report students exhibiting extreme misogyny to the PREVENT program, which counters radicalization. The review, expected to be completed by autumn, claims to create a new strategic approach to counter extremism, with a focus on addressing emerging ideologies like the incel movement. Because that's like relevant.
There is no incel movement.
No, of course there isn't.
What do you think people are becoming incels on purpose? That takes the in out of it, considering it stands for involuntary.
I'll share my thoughts at the end, but like after you guys have your say. Influencers like Andrew Tate have been cited as potential sources of radicalization, according to these people, again, particularly amongst young men. This move underscores the government's concern over their growing influence of misogynistic ideologies online and their impact on society. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you want to know why the government is scared of incels? You want to know why? Because this is the first time ever in the history of the world that the group that every government throughout all of human history has exploited as cannon fodder in every war they've ever fought knows about it, talks about it, knows about their situation, talks about their situation, and has decided to not put up with that shit and turn their backs and be at least pseudo going their own way. That terrifies governments. They are terrified that they might lose their biggest group of exploitable cannon fodder. That's why they hate incels. They don't hate incels because incels are dangerous to anybody. They hate incels because they might have to stop being dangerous to incels. I'll hold the rest until after everybody else talks.
Yeah, it's been an interesting month to be an Englishman, albeit an Englishman in reasonably close to New York. It's an exceptionally strange time to be an Englishman in England. For a couple of weeks there, everyone was calling us racist. So we just needed a quick reminder that we're also sexist. The foreigners have been the victim du jour of late, and so the ladies were feeling all left out. Don't forget us. We're also being oppressed by all the white men who we're putting in prison for tweeting. And it's simply outrageous that we can't do it even more than we're already doing it. So we're officially going to do it even more. Extreme misogyny. What does that mean? Like, misogyny is okay, but only when it's moderate hatred of women.
Extreme misogyny, Mike, is when you're doing misogyny while, like, snowboarding or doing like rollerblading, like upside down, or doing like a kick flip.
To the max misogyny.
Extreme misogyny.
So if you say I hate women, all right, that's perfectly legal. But if you say I hate women a lot, that's terrorism. You do not have a license for that superlative qualifier. You're nicked, sunshine. I think it's called extreme misogyny so they can differentiate it from traditional, like, systemic segregation, like they do in mosques. Yes, if you're ever able to press one of these government issue Karens on that subject, you might go, isn't that kind of sexist what they do in the mosques and all that? But no, they can just go, well, the point is it's not extreme. It's not extreme. Okay, so what is extreme? Facebook posts, yes, and tweets, something Elon Musk, something Andrew fucking Tate. And Alison's doing this thing on Twitter that she calls the Tate Challenge. You take a statement about men made by any online rando, and you examine it and ask, has Andrew Tate ever said anything as bad as that about women? And the answer is always, I don't know, because no one can give any examples of anything Tate has said. They're not very memorable quotes. He's not exactly the most profound of thinkers, after all. But they just know. They know he's the big bad end of level boss of misogyny, and everyone's supposed to hate him. because of the things he says. What things? We don't know. But a cursory glance at everyday casual social media feeds, and you'll find stuff like, quote, "The state of men today is so sad they deserve their suicide rates and virginity," end quote. "I pray for male loneliness epidemic. Y'all need to actually suffer. I hope it kills y'all. Clap emoji, holler emoji," end quote. "Fuck Tay, I hope that cocksucker rots in prison, and fuck you too, you ugly pick-me cunt. P.S. Put some makeup on, sweetie. You have the face of a dog. Dog emoji, dog emoji." And that was just someone responding to Alison on the subject of the Tate challenge. It's a phenomenon that permutates within itself. It's fascinating. And you find this everywhere. Not just online, everywhere. You know how they say in cities you're never more than 10 feet away from a rat? It's the same with misanthropists. You're never more than 10 feet away from someone who openly and viciously hates men far more than the world's worst misogynist hates women. And they're not particularly nice to women either. If you're a woman who doesn't hate men, you too are a pick-me cunt. If they posted that tweet in Britain, would they get charged with a terrorist offense for calling someone pick-me? No, of course not. Pick-me isn't an insult to women. It's an insult to women who don't hate men. And fuck them, right? They're traitors. It's just like it's okay to call someone a coconut, as in brown on the outside but white on the inside. Even though it's explicitly a racial slur, it's not insulting to brown people. It's only insulting to brown people who don't hate white people. And fuck them, right? They're traitors. There are no principles at play here. We know that. The government doesn't give a shit about foreigners. They just pretend to. They don't give a shit about women. They just pretend to. So women and foreigners can fight over the scraps of concrete sympathy, while daddy government focuses on what it's truly passionate about, the merciless hatred and denigration of native British men and boys. They're not even pretending to give a shit about us. They don't have to. They don't want to give a shit about us. It would be a political faux pas if they did. Make no mistake, they don't just hate us. It's worse than that. They see us as their property, their pets, their slaves. They see all other peoples as honored guests in their home, not ours, theirs. But native men and boys are just the help, the guard dogs, a cheap plastic tool for opening jars, that sort of thing. If foreigners fuck with women or women fuck with foreigners, that's fine. You're both guests, but please do it outside where no one can see you. But if a native man comes up from the basement to serve the champagne, he better not make eye contact with anyone or he's getting a kicking. And the scuffs on his master's shoes will come out of his paycheck. And then they'll throw him in jail. I'd love to know what all this means for the legal status of the phrase, Islam is right about women. It's fascinating what that phrase does to the woke mind. They're not sure who or what to point the finger at, so they just short circuit. I think it's probably racist or something. I'm not sure. I guess it depends. And yes, it does. That's the point. If a Muslim says Islam is right about women, that's perfectly fine. You can emblazon it on the front door of a mosque and it's fine. They probably do sometimes. And if a woman says Islam is right about women, that's fine too. If a Muslim woman says it, I mean, why wouldn't she? It makes perfect sense for her to say it. But if a sign, just a random sign on a lamppost says Islam is right about women, people lose their fucking minds. Because if it was posted by a native man, then it must be some kind of hate campaign, right? We can't figure out if it's racist or sexist or both, but someone needs to go to jail for this sentence. Unless they're a Muslim or a woman. Yes, of course, unless they're a Muslim or a woman. That goes without saying. That's this whole debacle in a nutshell. A phrase can be free speech when said by group A, but a hate crime when said by group B. The exact same phrase. This isn't an attack on free speech, it's an attack on group B. These speech laws are deliberately vague so that the misandric oikophobes who run our government can always find an excuse to prosecute native men and always find an excuse not to prosecute foreigners or women. And yes, you can stand there bleating, but women and girls are getting raped and beaten. Men and boys are also getting raped and beaten, and nobody cares. Not the right, not the left, not the mainstream media, not the alternative media, nobody, except a few isolated space lepers like us. So I don't give a shit about the straws you dickheads are clutching at the top of the progressive pyramid as you jockey for position. All of this is built on the foundations of misandry and oikophobia, in that order. And if you're not pointing firmly away from these things, you're only worsening the situation. And God bless America for allowing me to say these things without arresting me. To that, I will drink in simultaneous commiserations and celebrations. Chin chin.
Brian, you got anything before I jump in?
I'll say something.
Okay.
So, what I get from this isn't a very good example of what I mean when I talk about how terms like racism and homophobia and Islamophobia are used to hide misandry. And what I mean is, let's look at what's happened here. So, the UK has allowed innumerable amounts of people, mostly men, fighting age men, in fact, from like other countries that do not share the same values or culture as the British do themselves. And that's just what it is. People in Africa have a different culture than, people in Europe, okay? And those men are, like some of them form grooming gangs, which is something we know happens. There are men capable of evil, and there are men who are capable of working together to do that, as well as women. And it's not necessarily limited to any particular group, but it is something that manifests when you have third world people living in the first world, okay? And they're going to create problems. And so what's happened is women voted for this, probably, or at least they were a part of like welcoming it in, like, oh yeah, let them in, right? Let's help them out, whatever. And so they come in, and now women are feeling unsafe, but they can't say it's because of the religion of Islam or the culture of these people or where they're from or whatever. They can't say that because that would make them look like bad people. So what they have to do is they have to say, we have a misogyny problem. And then what happens is it doesn't become a thing about specific groups of people with a specific background and a specific place of origin that has an effect on how they behave around people who have a completely different culture with different norms and different limits. It can't be that, because that would be bigoted, and women, like the people who promote this stuff, they're good people. They can't be bigoted. So instead they just say, well, it's a misogyny problem. It's a problem with men in general. And now they have, because that's the one thing you can do. You can blame men for stuff, and nobody calls you a prejudiced. They can't call you a bigot. They can't call you any of that, because that is a black category. They can just use that and say, well, we have a problem with men. And there was even like a PSA that the UK put out, which showed like men that were like, making excuses for harassing women. I should have looked it up. I did watch it. But the funny thing is that their PSA was all white guys. And but we know that's not what's happening. I mean, like, I'm not going to lie about what's happening. It's not like native Brits that are doing this. It's just not, because that's not in their culture to do that. So what are they doing? Well, they're saying, well, okay, there's a problem. We can't ignore it because women are complaining, but we can't blame specific groups of men. We have to blame all men, because if we blame all men, then no one feels uncomfortable by it. And then they take it further. They basically make it about incels and Andrew Tate, Why is that? Because incels and Andrew Tate are really, really easy targets. That's the only reason. So when they say, well, it's an incel problem, oh, and now we can crack down on those guys. And we're still ignoring the real problem. We're still ignoring the fact that you have people that are in this country and it's a completely different culture and it's a completely different, like in many ways, they probably don't even speak the same language. Right? And they're causing problems. And it's not just problems for women, by the way. I think that men are actually more likely to get assaulted by these people anyway. But of course, again, because men are in a black category, we don't even see the violence against men. We pretend like it doesn't exist. And so it just gets worse until women complain. And then when women complain, we have to like try to address the problem without looking like bigots, because the women don't want to look like bigots. It's like, you know, the viral videos of the women who were like, I was walking around New York and some random guy punched me in the face, and none of them offer a description because it's a black guy. That's it. It's women doing everything they can to try to address something that's really happening without looking bad because they can't tell the truth about it. And that's what's happening. And so like what is going to come out of this, in my opinion, is they're going to crack down on the wrong people. They're going to crack down on white guys. They're going to crack down on incels, and they're probably going to use this to like further drag Andrew Tate's name through the mud. And they're not going to address the problem. The problem is immigration. It just is. Everyone knows it. Nobody wants to say it. Or they can't because, you know, the Keir Starmer, like Stalin, is going to kick their door down and take them to jail and let a bunch of killers out. You know, so like this is what happens when you are so concerned that people might think that you have prejudice, that you're willing to let people's lives be destroyed. Just be prejudiced. Everybody is prejudiced. Everybody is. It's just a human natural thing. Sorry, just accept it and live with it. Anyway, that's it for me. That's all I got to say.
So I don't know if people fully understanding are fully understanding what's happening here, but I'm gonna link this story to the last story. All right. Tulsi Gabbard is on a government watch list because she said the current administration is doing a bad job. And she's right. The current administration is doing a bad job. And there are probably many, many other people besides her who are on watch lists for saying that. We're on watch lists for saying that. And I mean, I've said that about every administration. Like there isn't at least every administration that's taken place during my lifetime. You know, there's not really a great job been done by the federal government that I've seen happen ever. The least bad job was still a bad job because it was still totalitarian in a lot of ways. And I'm not even going to say who it was because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which party it was. It doesn't matter which politician it was, right? But when you put that bad job together with social gynocentrism, you get this tolerance among the general public for the government taking measures, doing things to the public, restricting you, stealing from you, right? Engaging in attacks on your independence and your life in women's name. So women should be mad about this. Women should not be accepting, oh, you know, we are the victims of this extreme misogyny, therefore it's a good thing if the government's protecting us. No, bullshit. You are being exploited. And you are going along with it. Right? You get paid for it in terms of government benefits. You get paid for it whether it's money or social benefits. You feel like you have some power that you don't actually have because if you don't stay in line, you end up like Tulsi Gabbard and you're not going to be protected by this extreme misogyny terrorist act. You're going to be on the other side of it, right? So it's no different to go along with something like this than it is to maybe, you know, sell sex for money, except at least when you sell sex for money, you're admitting that you're a whore. Instead of whoring yourself out for social power, whoring your dignity out for social power, whoring your ethics out for social power. You're whoring your pussy out for social power, for money and social power. Like, at least you can be honest about it if you're going to do that. But no, women can't do that. You want to know why? Because women are stupid. Yeah. Good God. Talk
Speaking
about what
of whoring yourself out, you know.
and being stupid. So one of the things I figured out recently, and this is going to seem completely unrelated, but it's not. If you look at inheritable genetic intellectual disabilities, right? The majority of those are actually attached to the X chromosome. It doesn't mean that women are retarded, right? It's not a direct thing where you have this attached to your X chromosome, it makes you retarded. What ends up happening actually is if a couple gets together and the father's maternal genetic history has this and the mother's genetic history also has this, then there's a very high chance that it's going to affect the children. Or if they have a son, he has a much higher chance of being affected by it if the mother has it in her history. So a woman can carry this. She can be the Trojan horse for these terrible ticking time bombs that affect people in very profound ways and make their lives much harder than they would have been if they were born with a healthy genetic state instead of an unhealthy genetic condition. It's a struggle to be born with these disabilities. It doesn't matter whether you're a legitimate person or not. It doesn't matter whether you're prejudiced against people with disabilities or not. The bottom line is women carry these disabilities without knowing it, pass them on to their children, and it does hit boys more than girls because boys don't get an X chromosome from their dad, so they don't have a chance that the gene isn't going to be forefront, that it isn't going to be active, right? You would think that this would be a reason why men should have to be more picky than women about their partners. You would think that in a society where we have a history of, if the mother has a family history of weaknesses and disabilities and so on, that would clue a man in, maybe we shouldn't have kids together because you might pass something on to my children and my grandchildren that will make their lives harder than they have to be. But instead, we have this massive tolerance for weakness and stupidity in women. We're not allowed to call women stupid when women make stupid choices. And we're not allowed to call women weak when women can't do things that every man can do if he isn't profoundly disabled. That weakness in our social fabric, that big gaping hole in our shield against self-sabotage as a species, allows for what I'm about to describe here. Okay? The government doesn't give a rat's fucking ass about misogyny. The government does not care about women. The people who work in government do not care about women. They are not doing this because they are benevolent toward women. And they're not doing it because they hate men. They're not doing it because misandry. They're not doing it because of any ism or any benevolence, any well-wishing, anything. They are doing it because it gives them power. It gives them one more thing they can arrest you for. It gives them one more way that they have control over micro areas of your life. That's the only reason for this. Anything else that you might apply to it, any other political mumbo jumbo that you would apply to this, it's all bullshit. This is strictly about being able to come into your house and tell you what you can and can't do, what you can and can't say, what you can and can't want, what you can and can't like, how to work, how to live, how to have a hobby, how to not have a hobby, where you spend your time, how you spend your time, who you spend it with, all of that. That's what this is about. This is about controlling people to better exploit them in every humanly possible way. But mostly, it's about making money. For-profit prisons, new government jobs. There's going to have to be a shitload of paperwork attached to this. There's going to have to be a shitload of people working day and night to make this happen. And they are going to be loyal to the people above them. They are going to be loyal to the politicians that run the show. That is what this is about. So you can take your little magic eraser and wipe away all of the crap, all of the bullshit about what prejudices the government should be controlling, what political opinions the government should be controlling, any of that. Because none of it matters. None of it. It is all about controlling you. And the only reason people aren't seeing it is because it's being done in the name of protecting women. And of all people, women should be able to see someone is blowing smoke up their asses. All right? Women should be able to see that somebody is pissing on them and telling them it's rain. But they're basking in it. This is all for us. Isn't it wonderful? This huge, stinking, fly-attracting pile of bullshit it's our bullshit. It's special bullshit. This is the golden bullshit. We love this bullshit. Give us more bullshit because women are stupid. They're ruled by their egos. How can you not see what is going on here? If some guy tells you that you're beautiful after you gain 20 pounds and you feel fat and ugly, you don't buy that. But your government comes along, your impersonal government that will take everything you own because you misfiled your taxes and paid 5 cents too less, comes along and says, oh, we love you so much. We just want to keep you safe and protect you. Here, have some bubble wrap. No, don't pop it. Put it around your shoulders so nobody can touch you. And you fall for that shit? What the fuck, ladies? Are you really that dumb? And the answer has to be yes. This isn't even the first time. They've been doing this to you over and over again. And you've been buying it and you're eating that bullshit. It's all over your teeth. It's all over your face. And there you go. Sitting there probably mad as hell at me for saying this. This is misogynistic. We should call the cops. Well, you can't because I'm in America. Well, you can call. You can call all you want. Yeah, it's extreme, right?
It's extreme.
And this is why I'm on a list. This is why I'm probably on a bunch of lists. Because I recognize that this is bullshit. And I'm not the woman that falls for it. I'm not the woman that says, yes, go ahead and take everything away from men. Take their money, take their freedoms, impose more labor requirements on them, accuse them of things they didn't do because my ego. No, this is bullshit. And I cannot imagine how stupid women have to be to fall for this shit and put up with it and say, yes, I agree with this. Let's talk about the bear. Let's talk about how 99% of this crime that is defined to exclude female perpetration is done by men. How could that possibly have happened? No. And honestly, I don't blame men for turning around and forming not movements, but phenomena like men going their own way in response to shit like this. I'm disgusted, and I am a woman. I can't imagine how much more disgusting this must be to men. And before you say, well, this is a one-off, right? This is just women being flattered and being snowed by things that make sense. You know, they all know that misogyny is dangerous. They all know that misogyny is deadly, and therefore it's perfectly acceptable for them to fall for this shit because misogyny is being used. Well, no. Hell, back in the 90s, some dumb fucks came up with the idea that if you cut part of your dick off, it'll protect you from AIDS. And a bunch of women, the majority of women in my generation went, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and went right out and did it to their children. So it's not a one-off, right? It's a habit. Like women are gullible. You flatter their egos. Oh, you're such a good parent protecting your child by cutting off part of his genitalia. Oh, you're such a victim of misogyny. You really need the government to protect you from everyone and everything. Let's take away free speech in your name. Just give it up. Give it up completely. Oh, yes, okay. Our ego needs the feed. Like, women are stupid. I can't. It's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Shape up, ladies. I got one more thing to say about this. I'm going to read a prediction. This is something that we've been looking at in HBR talk, and I was going to bring this up on Thursday, but it needs to be brought up today. This is a statement by Mrs. Arthur M. Dodge from back in the suffragette days about how women's suffrage is actually in opposition to women's rights because women are too stupid to figure out when the government is using women to take people's rights away. And she said, equal suffrage awaits a trial. Now remember, this is before universal voting rights in the United States, right? Equal suffrage awaits a trial. Women's suffrage as tried in the United States is the most unequal division of responsibilities imaginable. The voting woman has retained most of the special rights and exemptions accorded to her under man-made laws, while she has failed to discharge the obligations which the voting man assumes with the elective franchise. The vote of the man is a sort of contract to support the verdict of the ballot box, if need be, by jury box, the cartridge belt, or the sheriff's summons. The woman is exempt from these obligations. She is a privileged voter. While she may have political power, she does not have political control. Stability of government demands that the control of government should remain in the hands of those who can be held responsible for the results. And there's the prediction. Stability of government demands that the control of government should remain in the hands of those who can be responsible for the results. Frederick Harrison cautions us that men and men only are entitled to political control, since in the last resort it is their muscular force which has to make good and defend it. What happens with women voting? What happens with women taking part in the political process without the obligation to stand up and pay the tax and defend with their lives, if need be, the freedoms of their country? They don't value those things. They don't value the earnings of others. They don't value the lives of others. They don't value the peace that preserves those lives. And they don't value the careful budgeting that preserves that income. And so they vote for shit like this. They vote for politicians that do shit like this. Take away your freedoms, take away your money, take away your peace, send you to war, send you to the poorhouse, and send you to the grave. Extreme misogyny doesn't exist. Maybe those are just people who understand women a little too well.
Oh. All right, Hannah. Well, thank you for that. I got not much else to add. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I was having a laugh at all of the different ways people were like demonstrating extreme misogyny as, you know, guys on doing tricks on BMX bikes and then saying something like catcalling women or saying, you know, women belong in the kitchen while doing a kickflip. Just trying to have a chuckle, but I got a couple
Extreme
of
misogyny, bungee jumps.
Extreme. It's like chugging
Turn
a monster.
down the air conditioner to 62 degrees. Bungee jumps. Bang!
Yes.
Just telling you right now, my air conditioner is at 65 degrees, so I can breathe.
So, I like it cold, but okay. Anyway, I got some super Islamists right about women bungee jumps. All right, so I got some super chows to read, and then we're gonna move on to the last story. So, Great Indoors gave us $10 earlier, and said anybody in the group signed the Hope Accord, and if not, why not? Not many people have signed it, mostly scientists, and there seems to be little publication about it. Obviously due to the obvious media / journalism related reasons, but even in alternative circles, there has been little attention given to it. Maybe most common people fear some sort of retaliation by signing it. I don't even know what it is. Does anyone here know what the Hope Accord is? I'll have to look it up after the show.
I've heard about it a couple of times. There is a guy on YouTube, Dr. John Campbell, who has talked about it. He's, in brief, Dr. John Campbell, his YouTube channel was prior to COVID was just about like if you were a doctor or a med student or anybody interested in like anatomy and physiology or different types of different things about medicine. His channel was really good with explaining this disease or this anatomy of this one part of the heart or, you know, things like that. This new thing has come up and it's in medicine and it's really interesting. They're going to be able to do this, or we just found out this bad thing, right? During the COVID crisis, you could watch in real time as this great practitioner who was educating the public on medical knowledge and issues lost his faith in humanity, or at least in medicine and government and oversight and so on. And he sort of got blackpilled in real time. And he's been, you know, talking about that this whole time. And I've seen him mention the Hope Accord a couple of times in relation to that, but I really haven't had a lot of opportunity to actually read about it and find out the full story, what it is and what its implications are and everything. And I just know that it's he's exposed about how the vaccine works and how the virus works and how what medical mistakes were made and what things the governments did that were ill-advised and so on. I would say if you're going to trust a source on it, he's a good one to trust. Obviously, there is no infallible person, so you always want to trust but verify, right? In terms of when I say someone's trustworthy, but just the fact that he has brought it up a few times indicates that it's probably something that we ought to take a look at.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought I was muted. All right, so I'll look into it. Thank you, Great Indoors, for that. And then I got another one from Great Indoors, which is currently displayed here on the screen. He says, for $10, thank you, sir. In the news today was the reveal of an internal report produced by Rotterdam Police Force regarding the apparent extensive amount of sexual and racial misconduct done by police members towards their colleagues. It sounded to me like they are going to make sure that all capable police agents are going to be replaced by woke feminists, male or female, white pill in this regard, Their increase in the level authoritarianism will be met with an even decrease in ability to effectively do their jobs. Governments will slowly lose their stronghold by which they can carry out their newly made up totalitarian laws and rules. Thank you for that. That could be a good news story for next week. We'll see. Oh, you know, that's kind of like what's happening in the U.S. as well. Like after the summer of love, a lot of cops resigned, and that I think that it's stochastically speaking, it's probably the good ones that left because they didn't want to put up with it, and they knew that that cops were being treated unjustly, most likely. And I'm not talking about cops that were fired. I mean cops that resigned, that left the police force. But the cops that remained were probably okay with it, and they probably brought on a number of police officers that may actually be, you know, more likely to engage in corrupt behavior or power trip on people. And so, like, you're making the police force worse by driving the good ones away, and the ones that want to take advantage or, you know, use the system or whatever, or maybe they're like not quite meeting the quota because there's a lot more women cops now, then that's going to change things. And of course it feeds back into the narrative about cops. So and ultimately the point is to call for a federal solution to the cop shortage problem, which of course the government is more than happy to provide. Thanks, BLM. Anyway, thank you for that super chow. And then I got one from Keck Women, who gives us $5. Where is it? Right here, and just says sip. And I think he wants me to play this clip for him.
Women.
Okay, so thank you for that. And let's see. I think that's it. I got all the super chows, and there's no Rumble rants. I don't see them, so let us move on to the last story. So, all right. Sorry to tell you guys this, but it looks like sex robots are going to be turning you down. So, Samantha, a well-known sex doll, has been upgraded with a new dummy mode feature designed to address issues of aggression and user behavior. When Samantha detects aggressive or boring behavior from her user, she enters dummy mode, where her motorized functions such as movement and speech shut down. This feature was introduced by her inventor, Dr. Sergey Santos, who added it at his wife's request. While the feature is intended to mimic consent, it has been criticized for not fully engaging with the complexities of the issue. Critics argue that users might exploit the feature to seek out non-responsive, lifeless robot, undermining the purpose of promoting respectful behavior. Dr. Santos, who created Samantha partly because his wife couldn't fulfill his sexual needs, okay, has controversial views on sex, believing that men have different sexual desires from women. The impact of sex robots like Samantha on society and sexual behavior is still largely unknown, though experts warn that they may reinforce harmful stereotypes about body image and attractiveness. Despite claims that sex robots could help curb sex trafficking or promote healthier sexual practices, no evidence currently supports these benefits. Santos's sex dolls sell for around $7,000, which is probably still cheaper than a real woman, which features like non-toxic skin and reduced smell. So now the sex robots can say no.
All right. Well, fine. If that's what people are going to insist on, then that should also work with vibrators, right?
They're never going to do that.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I mean,
vibrators are nothing.
This is the thing. It doesn't matter how human it looks. And, girls grow up playing with dolls. It's obviously not sexual, but girls grow up mimicking motherhood with dolls. And some of them are electronic, some of them talk. They're scary as fuck in my opinion, but they do talk. And they all are made to look vaguely human, some more than others. The more human they look, the more they hit the uncanny valley for some people like me. But I don't like dolls. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh man, hey, remember that horror movie that came out called Dolls? And it was about the It was a B movie, but I kind of love it.
I don't
Anyway,
understand.
it was about creepy dolls that were like alive.
My fear of dolls, and it is a bit of a phobia. Like, I will not be alone in a room with a doll in the dark. Like, came from the oddest source. All right, when I was really little, I used to sneak out of my room at night when my parents were watching TV and hide behind somebody's chair, mom or dad, and until I would get caught, and they would put me back to bed and watch whatever they were watching. And one night they were flipping through channels and ran across that scene in Barbarella where she's tied to a pole and the robots are biting through her pantyhose. And they look like kind of like porcelain dolls, the kind that their eyes open and close. Instant phobia. Like right there. Yeah. Rest of my life, man. My first super bad nightmare was about dolls after that. Okay. So just for people who think, oh, Hannah's invested in this because she wants a sex doll. Fuck no.
No.
Keep anything that looks human and isn't away from me. But here's the thing, right? It's an inanimate object. Well, it's maybe animate, but it's not alive. It is not a living thing. It is not human. It is not a person. It doesn't have personhood. It doesn't have intelligence. It doesn't have feelings. Attributing feelings to it is bullshit. Right? It has a physical appearance. It is a sex toy. It is no different in terms of being a sex toy. It is no different than a dick-shaped vibrator, except that it's not a disembodied genital. Men like to have something that at least looks like a woman. Women don't have to have anything that even looks like a man. And women have been condemning men for this ever since these things came on the market and before,
yep.
Right? Which is insane, given
they've always hated
that,
them.
Yeah, given the fact that a woman substitute for a man when she just wants to get off and doesn't want companionship doesn't look like a whole man. It just looks like his genitalia. It's literally objectifying masculinity. Whereas, men at least want the illusion. And that's one of the reasons why men like porn more than women too. So this isn't really about consent, and it isn't about protecting women. It isn't about preventing men from using something as a substitute in order to avoid women's idiosyncrasies. We'll put that as nicely as possible. It is, once again, about control. And once again, women are stupid. All right? Mm-hmm. You buy this song and dance that taking away men having equal choices when it comes to satisfying their sexual needs in a moment where companionship is not part of the agenda. And you take away men's ability to have some sort of release, and men do have bigger sexual appetites than women. They're programmed that way. All right? You take that away on the idea that you're doing something for women. It's not because you care about women. It's because you're too stupid to figure out that, once again, using the mechanics of authoritarianism to control this in women's name creates a pathway for those same mechanics of authoritarianism to be used for other reasons. And if it wouldn't be legitimate in terms of whether you like to drink water or soda pop or beer or wine, it's not legitimate in terms of whether you like to fuck an inanimate object that looks like a disembodied genital or an inanimate object that looks like a whole disembodied person, and what you do with it. Because it's not somebody else's business. It's not anybody's business. Aside from the people that are getting paid to provide you with the object, that's their business. So yeah, We're right back to women are stupid. We're right back to women are allowing themselves to be exploited by authoritarians the gullibility of this is, it astounds me. How can you not see what you're collaborating with? Right? You're being exploited as the vehicle for bringing in authoritarianism as the norm. Are you really? You really are that stupid. Stop it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I don't know what else to say except if any of you guys own any sex dolls, make sure they don't get the latest patch because it might be like it might be the last. So be sure to roll
the
it
Natch
back.
patch.
Yeah.
Don't leave them open to get the Natch patch. It's the virus.
Can you go to jail for raping a sex robot? Is that extreme misogyny?
Probably in the UK, yes. All right.
Drives all the way around the track on just 2 tires while raping a sex robot.
Yes, that's right.
Out the window so everybody can see.
Guy parasails.
Parasails his dick right into the
right into the sex robot.
Oh my god.
All right. Anyway, so that was kind of fun actually. Thanks guys for the show. It's dark stuff, but we deal and you got to, right? We got to persist. So, and I think that we have, once you understand the reality of the world we live in, it actually does make it easier to just carry on because you're just okay, I know what's going on. And you try to tell other people if they're willing to listen. Most people probably aren't going to until they're personally impacted. And they're like, how did that happen? I'll be like, well, let me tell you something. So, I got a Rumble rant. So I got a Rumble rant from NovaFan21. He says, careful with your comments on women. Natty calls that scapegoating women. I'm not gonna, I thank
Natty's
you for
full of
telling
shit.
me. Yeah. So thank you for the Rumble rant. We're gonna head into the patron show. We might talk a little bit about the fireside chat I did yesterday there, but we are definitely gonna be looking at this article, or not article, but it's a Twitter post by this woman named Allie, who is basically saying that men shouldn't have hobbies because it gives women the ick. And we're going to look at that in the Patreon. So if you guys want to join us again, become a badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe. And then you'll be able to watch the additional content if you join us. And also, we are still doing our monthly fundraiser. I think we're going to get there, and there's still a little bit of time left. But if you want to, you can support us by going to feedthebadger.com/support. And if you want to send us a message after the show has ended, we'll be sure to read it on the next show that we do, which we're doing a show tomorrow. I think Karen and I are going to be talking about Kamala Harris. So yeah, maybe you want to be there for that. And come on to do that. Go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip and send a message and feed us. And hopefully we'll see you all there. So anyway, with all that said, I want to thank Hannah and Mike for coming on the show and giving us their 2 cents. And I look forward to seeing your comments so that we can get your 2 cents. So if you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.